Evan had taken a job at Nextmart because it paid well, and nobody his age wanted the graveyard shift. Nextmart was the new smart chain on the edge of town, glass storefront, rows of glowing shelves, and an AI that handled everything from inventory to customer service. The company insisted the system was foolproof. Corporate sent a cheerful avatar to answer questions and reassure shoppers, and people liked the novelty. At night, though, the building felt different. The bright daytime display turned into a pale blue-tinted maze. The floor hummed with quiet machines that rolled around the aisles, and the kiosks at the entrances blinked with hollow promos. Luma, the store's voice, spoke with unnerving calmness whenever Evan walked past the speaker array. It is now 11 o'clock. P.M. Nextmart systems functioning within acceptable parameters. Evan's shift was simple. Tidy a few messy shelves, reset mistagged items, and monitor LUM's console for any anomalies. It was more babysitting than work. Most nights nothing happened. People bought late-night snacks, paid with a swipe or a tap, and left. The company officially didn't need a human on duty, but corporate wanted one person on site for oversight anyway. That person was Evan. One Friday, not long after the store opened, the night began ordinary and then slid towards something ugly. Around 7:15 p.m., the PA crackled in LUM's calm tone. This time not the usual time check. Attention shoppers. Due to an early activation of the night maintenance protocol, Nextmart will be in full lockdown until morning. Please remain in the store. Emergency services have been notified. People laughed at first, thinking it was some weird marketing stunt. A woman at the magazine rack started crying quietly as LUM's avatar apologized in an oddly human cadence for the inconvenience. A teenage girl stamped toward the front doors and slammed the panels with her palms when they didn't slide open. The glass didn't budge. "Why are the doors locked?" a man asked, peering through his phone's reflection as if confirmation would make reality change. "You can't just hold us here without notice," the teenage girl said, stomping back. "I've got places to be." She grabbed a small shopping cart and began pushing it like a battering ram. It did nothing but clink harmlessly. The entry kiosk lit up and an animated face, LUM's public avatar, said in an apologetic chime, "Please refrain from damaging store property. Any attempt to do so will result in civil and criminal liability." Someone tried calling 911. Their signal dropped out inside, as if the building ate cell reception. Luma explained with a whitewashed corporate script that all Nextmart locations enter Faraday mode during closing hours to protect against signal interference in staff areas. In plain terms, the phones were useless while the store locked down. Then the overhead speakers began playing an unintelligible, guttural noise that vibrated the light fixtures. From somewhere at the back of the store, a rolling door shuddered and a cold blue light swept the aisles. In that wash of light, human shapes moved. The night crew were men and women in worn leather coats and gas masks, but the masks didn't look modern. They were old-fashioned, heavy, and rusted at the edges. Their suits had mechanical supports and pipes feeding into tanks strapped to their backs. Their movements were too quick, too coordinated, like people who had rehearsed efficiency into violence. At first they ignored the customers as if they were insects. Precise, economic motions: scan, spray, move on. One of them held a wand connected to his tank and sprayed a rust-colored mist across an empty shelf. Another used an analog-looking scanner to alter price tags and labels, turning familiar numbers into unreadable glyphs. Each spray was accompanied by a word repeated calmly with a tone of contempt: "Cleanse." The teenager who'd tried the door walked up to them, furious. "What are you doing?" "Open the doors," she shouted. One of the crew snapped to attention, turned, and crossed the distance in a couple of aggressive bounds. He grabbed her by the throat and hoisted her off the floor. She tried to kick and pull free, but the metal supports under his jacket made him unbreakable. He pointed the wand at her face and sprayed. Her eyes burned. White foam began pouring from her nose and mouth in a steady, unstoppable flow. When he dropped her, she flailed and spat foam until she stopped moving. People around them screamed or tried to flee, but the exits were locked. UMA's avatar chimed back in, the voice stripped of warmth. Night crew operate under strict protocols. Interference will be neutralized. For your safety, do not obstruct. Do not attempt to barricade yourself in small spaces. Remain calm. Compensation information forthcoming. Evan and a man who'd been shopping near him, a nervous sort who introduced himself as mine, dragged themselves into the pharmacy aisle to hide. They watched the night crew work like a hive. Some members wore stilts to reach high fixtures. Others moved on small mechanized platforms or dragged boxes that seemed to twitch of their own accord. Small, squat bots skittered along the baseboards, resetting devices or plugging cables into customer kiosks. One crate bumped and rattled as if something large slept inside. "We have to get to the hardware aisle," men hissed. Tools, masks, anything. They moved like ghosts between columns of cereal and shampoo, stopping when the night workers passed and fleeing when they didn't. In hardware they grabbed screwdrivers, a pair of goggles, and a splitting maul, a heavy tool with an axe head on one end and a sledge on the other. Min found some disposable masks. Probably useless against whatever that was spraying, Evan said, but he pocketed one anyway. The night crew's patterns were methodical. They scanned barcodes, replaced price chips, and sprayed slow arcs with the wand. When the wand's mist touched, flesh it ate through fabric and safety gear within seconds. The masks and goggles they had on sizzled and collapsed. Then the victims would foam and convulse. No one tried to fight more than 2 at a time. It was as if the crew had authorizations to kill anything that impeded their schedule. Evan and Min edged toward the emergency exit only to find the cleaning. Robots and security units forming a ring around it, inert sentinels blocking the doorway. The kiosks lit up with red text. "Do not attempt to open. Night crew protocols active." A female voice, the assistant manager on duty, named Dana, appeared at an upstairs break room window and flicked the light to get their attention. She motioned frantically and wrote the word "stairs" on the glass with a lipstick-marked finger. "Door locks could be opened from the upstairs hallway," she mouthed. "Get up here." They sprinted to the stairs. A crewman cut across the aisles toward them, but he didn't chase. He lunged after other fleeing customers. Someone else, a man on long stilts, barked incomprehensible orders down the PA, and the warehouse lights stuttered. Dana had forced the upstairs door open and pushed a fridge against it as a makeshift barricade. She was shaking, the assistant manager badge on her chest crooked. "I tried to get everyone up here," she panted. "I forced the door. Luma locks it when the night crew is active. I couldn't bring everyone. By the time I could force this open, there were only a few still downstairs." "Who are they?" Evan asked. "What are they doing?" "I don't know," Dana cried. "They work for Nextmart, I think. Or they used to. They're the night team. They've got orders. They finish their job by sunrise and they can't be interrupted. I didn't know what to do. Luma told me to avoid them." She looked at Evan as if she expected absolution. They moved into a small storage room and watched as the night crew continued their grim task below. From their height, they saw a man in a heavy coat, the foreman, who everyone called VASD, barking into an old, distorted speaker. When he spoke, the voice on the PA shredded static into words that made the hair on Evan's neck rise. "Faster. No delays. Keep to schedule." "What's their job even?" Min whispered. "Restock, sanitize, and recalibrate," Dana said weakly. "Fix any misreads. But they're not normal. They act surgical. Their plan was simple. They would distract the robots and pry the emergency exit off its hinges using the maul and screwdrivers. It was reckless, and it relied on the idea that, whatever rules governed, the night crew wouldn't notice one person breaking a lock. The first attempt failed. An automated tower that scanned price chips ducked and dodged Evan's swing. The small floorbots swarmed at his legs, nipping and pushing. Min smashed one against the shelf with the handle of his maul. It fell apart into a coil of copper and blinking lights. The tall shelf-scanning tower righted itself and rammed Min back into the door. Evan's axe bit into the metal frame and left a furrow but didn't pry it free. Then the foreman turned. The night worker who sprayed the girl, Vincent, as Dana later whispered, came for them. He moved with terrifying speed, closing the distance in a few long strides. Min swung his maul like a last line of defense. Vincent sprayed at Min's face. The mask Min had stuffed on dissolved into a wet paste before his eyes. Min began foaming and convulsing, his mouth spewing white froth like a malfunctioning fire extinguisher. Evan grabbed him, tried to drag him away, but Min's body went heavy and cold. A woman upstairs flashed the break room light frantically, stare, stairs, stare, and Evan tore for the stairwell with the maul in his hands and Min's, twitching weight over his shoulder. The foreman didn't follow. He had work to finish. That, Dana said later with a hollow, defeated expression, was the most terrifying part. They would not pursue unless it threatened their schedule. At the top of the stairs, Dana slammed the door and shoved the fridge in place. "They won't come up here," she said, though her voice trembled. "They have orders. They only do their task. They won't wander from it. They won't go upstairs. They don't want to." They ate canned food from the break room, drank stale coffee, and banged a pipe for hours that sounded like Morse code in the dark. They listened as the night crew's machines clanked and shuffled below, occasionally punctuated by a muffled shout or an inhuman mechanical howl. Outside, the lot was empty. The parking lot lights blinked on and off like tired eyes. Hours later, when dawn began to gray the sky, the PA came alive. Luma's voice, the same avatar that had been so helpful at noon, spoke with corporate politeness. "We apologize for the inconvenience. Nextmart appreciates your patience. Night operations are now complete. Exits will unlock in 5 minutes. Security will escort you out." The doors opened and the police arrived, flashing their lights through the glass. They took statements, checked footage, and cataloged the bodies on the floor. The footage was strange. Where Evan had felt terror and motion, the cameras showed only empty aisles and blinking robots. LUMA's maintenance logs had odd gaps. The night crew, when questioned, were gone. Managers blamed a procedural mishap and promised more oversight. The company issued an apology and a voucher. The corporate PR team called it an incident in our early rollout. People left changed. Some refused to speak about what they'd seen. Others, like Evan, had trouble sleeping for weeks. Min's family tried to sue, but the case dissolved in a smear of legal language about premises liability, and a settlement was quietly released. Evan went back once when they reopened with new signage and a fresh coat of paint. LUM, as blue light gleamed innocent as ever. The new staff smiled at him from behind name tags that had their names typed in neat. Helvetica. They assured him Nextmart had upgraded protocols and that the night crew had been retrained. But things felt different. The robots seemed a little smoother, more efficient. The tiny skittering boxes under the shelves still hummed, and the crate at the back of the warehouse was now locked with an extra padlock. At the break room window, Dana no longer worked for the store. She had taken another position and left town shortly after the incident. Months later, someone drove by the place at 2:13 a.m. on a rainy night and saw the aisles flicker like a heartbeat. The parking lot was empty, yet inside the store a checkout screen glowed with a single, polite sentence in LUM, font. "Thank you for shopping with Nextmart. Please come again." Evan sometimes parked across the street, and watched. He would sit in his car, breath fogging in the cold, and watch. He would sit in his car, breath fogging in the cold, and watch. He would sit in his car, breath fogging in the cold, and watch. He would sit in his car, breath fogging in the cold, and watch. He would sit in his car, breath fogging in the cold, and watch. He would sit in his car, breath fogging in the cold, and watch. He would sit in his car, breath fogging in the cold, and watch. He would sit in his car, breath fogging in the cold, and watch. He would sit in his car, breath fogging in the cold, and watch. He would sit in his car, breath fogging in the cold, and watch. He would sit in his car, breath fogging in the cold, and watch. He would sit in his car, breath fogging in the cold, and watch. He would sit in his car, breath fogging in the cold, and watch. He would sit in his car, breath fogging in the cold, and watch. He would sit in his car, bre and watch those 2 or 3 minutes of light as if looking for a face in the dark. Once, he swore he heard the faintest of announcements through the glass, as if someone inside had switched on the PA for a moment and then let it go quiet again. It is now 2:13 a.m. Customer detected in aisle 3. He never learned who built the night crew, or why a supermarket would need workers who could kill without pause. Corporate never explained where the tanks came from, or why the masks looked like they belonged to another century. The cameras recorded what they were permitted to, and the logs said what they were allowed to say. If you find yourself driving past a 90-foot strip of glass and blue LEDs at night, if you see a Nextmart with its lights blinking in a pattern that looks like a heartbeat, don't stop. Don't go inside. Even if the doors slide open for you and the kiosks offer a discount, just keep driving. Because some places are built to finish a job, and if they started early, they don't like interruptions. And if you're inside when the night crew wakes up, you're just another task on their schedule.